Hey, making great relationships. Wouldn't it be great to have great relationships, connections with people in all different areas of your life? Whether it's because you're lonely and need connection, you're struggling with a relationship, whether you have relationships at work that you want to foster, make better, maybe in your social life, or maybe that special one-to-one relationship. Got it all for you here. We're going to form a recipe of great relationships.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Great relationships, eh? Great relationships. And what's the other side of that? Why are we sometimes looking for great relationships? Maybe it's through that blooming old loneliness. That horrible thing of loneliness. Or maybe you're struggling with a relationship or relationships. Maybe you want a relationship. You know, there's all different ones as well, different types of relationships. There's ones at work. There's ones in your social life with your friends. There's ones in the family, because sometimes they go a little bit tits up, don't they? And there's also that one-to-one special relationship. You know, the one that we're told to look for our soulmate. And the thing is, I'll tell you a little story. Just a quick one about soulmates. You see, I had this lady come to see me, and it's all about confidence, because she was going through a divorce. And her husband then was very overbearing, very aggressive. And she just lacked so much confidence to stand up to him in this divorce proceedings. And she explained, she said, this is my second marriage, by the way, Paul. And I said, oh, okay, what happened in the first one? Not knowing a thing about anything. And she said, well, I'm still struggling. She said, because he was my soulmate. We just got on so well. Well, you know, as well as good relationships go, it was a great relationship, but sometimes we have little rocky bits, you know. You have a little argument now and again. And she said, one day we had that little argument. And he left to go to work, and I didn't say goodbye. Because you do that sometimes, don't you? And the poor man had an accident and died. An accident in a car and died. And she said, that crushed me. And now I've gone through this other relationship, this marriage, which is now ending. And so I said, well, you want a relationship. You need if you want a relationship with yourself, I think, because we get rid of the grief. But she said, oh, no. See, I've got rid of my grief. I understand it now. But the thing is, I've found another soulmate. This person is my soulmate. And I said, hang on a minute. You see, sometimes I come out of my therapist mold and my own beliefs come out. I said, how can you get more than one soulmate? Because I'd had a rocky patch and things had happened to me. And I thought, that's it, finished. She said, oh, of course there's soulmates, Paul. I said, no. You can only have one soulmate. She said, no, Paul. I can tell you now, this person is a soulmate. And my previous soulmate, I know would have been okay with this. So all I need now is a confidence to stand up to these procedures so I can get on with my life and live my life with a soulmate. So that's just a little aside. If you've gone through something and you think, well, is there anybody going to fill a role? Not fill a role. You don't fill a role. You do fill a role in a relationship, but someone who's going to really be there, someone special. Can I get another special one? Well, that's a little story. I believe it now. She rocked my boat, that woman. Rocked my boat in the way of rocking my beliefs. And that's the thing about beliefs, isn't it? They can change in an instant. They don't grow. They just change. As soon as you find something that disproves the belief you had, they have to change. Now, let's talk about relationships again. I just wanted to sow that little foundation so we can all be on the same page. So whatever we're struggling with in relationships, the thing is, I'm going to guess, we've all had good relationships, haven't we? Well, we've all had relationships. Let's start with the basics. We've all had relationships. Some of them are bloody good. Some of them, well, they were certainly good in parts, but the other parts weren't so good. And some of them, well, you could probably say they're awful. They just didn't do anything for you at all. So, what are you going to do? Now, you see, I think from any one of those, in fact, all three of those, we have the basis of a recipe for the relationship that would bring you joy. And again, bring you joy, whether it's through loneliness and you want a companion, or whether you're struggling with a relationship and you want to make it better, or you want a better relationship at work with your colleagues, or in your social life. I just want a better social life. I want to be able to connect with people. Or maybe it is that one-to-one special relationship. I believe our past relationships, the good ones, the good in parts, and those bloody awful ones, they allow us to form a recipe. Now, what are you going to say? Cluffy, you're a bloody chef now. What the hell's all that about? Form a recipe. Goodness me. I'm going to tell you. You see, what do you want out of a relationship? You can decide first. First of all, you've got to decide what relationship you want. Because then we can decide the recipe that we want. Because it's a very specific recipe. And by the way, done this loads and loads of times with people, and they have just found relationships. I'll explain why shortly. But let's get the process underway. So first of all, you can decide, what type of relationship do you want? Is it one of companionship? Is it one that you're in the right relationship, but you're struggling? Maybe you just want that one at work or social life or that special one. Doesn't matter which one. You need to pick one for this exercise. Just pick one. And the thing is, just because you pick one doesn't mean what we do is cast in stone, because you can make it even better, richer, because once you do it once, you've got an idea of the process and you can add to it. Or once you know the process, you can say, well, that's that relationship. But do you know what? I would like better relationships at work, or I would like a more social thing, more connection with people. Maybe there's a group that you go to and you're not really connecting. So there's so many more. So just pick one for the moment, because if you just pick everyone, well, they're all different, aren't they? Relationships are all different. And you see, because it's not cast in stone, it means, if this word is right, moldable. You can mold it. You can add to it. You can take away from it. Because it's a recipe and it's not perfect. And because it's not perfect, thank God, means you can keep just changing it as you wish. So you decide, and just play with me. Just decide one anyway, just right now. Remember, you can come back to this, and let's play. So in this category, I want you to begin to think. Think. Well, you've had a few relationships like this one, haven't you? We all have. In some way, shape or form. They could have been those good ones. They could have been those good in parts, and they could have been that bloody awful one. Well, hopefully it's only one, not plural. And you see, what we're going to do is we're going to look to learn from every type of relationship you've had in a certain way, to get you to hone down in what for you is, in this particular category, this particular context, is sort of, not perfect, but the things that would give you joy, things that you would enjoy in that relationship. And we're going to learn. So those good things, or the good relationships you had, well, they have all the things that you used to enjoy. Not the person. We're not talking about the person. We're talking about the things that made up that relationship. So it could be the touch. It could be a tone of voice. It could be the way people looked. They could be the way they treated you. They could be that connection. Whatever it was. There's some wonderful things. The things that were important to you that made that so joyful. Now, the relationships which were good in parts, well, they're similar, but they've got things that you really did enjoy again. Now, they might overlap some of these, but they have good things. And they also have the things that you didn't like. Now, the things about the didn't like is if you reverse them, not necessarily completely reverse them, but it tells you the things if you didn't like, well, when you think about the things you didn't like, you can actually say, well, what would I like instead? What would have been better? So even the bits which you didn't enjoy give you a hint to the things that would make a relationship even richer. And those shitty ones, I call them shitty ones now because they might be a poor relationship, a bad relationship, but maybe I'm giving too much information away. But those shitty ones, well, as you think of those, the things you didn't like will again lead you to what you would have liked instead. And they're all going to start to come together, aren't they? Because the things that you really enjoyed in a really great relationship, the things you enjoyed in parts, and those good in part relationships, and things you didn't like, the opposite, the shitty ones, the opposite. I think they're going to start to give you an idea of the things that make you feel wonderful in a relationship, the things that give you joy, the things that are important to you. You see, we're going to use those because everything has an opportunity for learning and growth. It would be remiss of me, remiss of you, to not include those other relationships and only look at the good ones. Because those good ones, they still have more to add. Because we can always make things better. You know, we always say, whatever you think you are, you're more than that. So whatever you think this relationship is, or the relationship you want, or your relationship you had, there's always more. So let's think. And what I'd like you to do is write these down, if you could. Okay, you listen to a podcast, so you're going to say, oh, Cluffy, I ain't got my notes. Okay, well, listen to this, and then please just sit down for a few moments. It doesn't take long. It can take as long as you like. It could take a few minutes if you like. But you see, when you write things down, it does a number of things. One is you have to think about what you're going to bloody write. So when you're thinking about, well, what was important to me in good relationships, all the good relationships, what things did I really enjoy? When you think about that and the words you're going to use, you have to go back there and feel the feelings again. Not necessarily the person, as I said. Well, not the person. The thing that was important, the thing that brought you joy, the thing that you really enjoyed in that relationship. And you have to think about it. You have to go there. And your unconscious mind is getting that feeling. And then you go to the one which is good in parts. Oh, well, maybe they're overlapping. So, yeah, I do that. What about things I didn't like about it? Well, if they weren't there, so they don't form part of the recipe, but if we had the opposite or something even better than that, which needs replacing, what would that be? And write them down. And the thing is, you do it one at a time. Just one at a time. You don't think, oh, that really good relationship was this. No. Because I want you to feel the feelings. Feel the feelings of each one. So just pick a good relationship that was really good. What was maybe the one thing that you really enjoyed of that relationship? What was it? Think about it. Feel the feeling. Write it down. Then think of, maybe there was a relationship with good in parts. What were the good things about that? Feel it. Feel the feelings. What are the things you disliked about it? Well, what was the opposite? What would have made it so much better? Maybe it's not there. So if it's not there, then we just discount it, throw it away. We don't need it. Park it out the way. But if you said, well, actually, if it had turned it on its head and this had happened instead, and you probably find that that's also in the good ones anyway. And then you can just quickly go through that shite one and see if there's anything there that you would have turned on its head that's not in the good ones, not in the good parts, or the good in parts. And keep picking one at a time, but only the things that you enjoy. So actually Start this out with the sentence. What is really important to me about good relationships in this context? Feel it. What else? What else is important to me? What else is important to me? And each time you feel it, the feeling will grow. It will actually start to morph and it's moldable again, because that recipe is starting to mix now. You're starting to get your hands into that recipe and mix it in such a way that all the good parts, all the things that are important to you, begin to come together. Because this is the recipe. Because I want a relationship not only with the good parts from that relationship, but I want them to add to that relationship and that one and bring them all together. That's why the people don't count. Well, they do count because people are people, but they don't count in this process. It's only the things that are important to you. And maybe, just maybe, there's one thing in a relationship that you've never experienced yet, but you want to. And you think, that's that one thing that I've missed out. Because maybe we've had some good relationships, good in parts or those shite ones, but never been quite that real solid one where you go, this is it. So what would be important to you in that, this is this relationship? What would make that relationship, this relationship? And write the bloody thing down. Because again, and the reason you're writing it down is because you can come back to this. Look at each one. You go, I remember. It was that touch. That just touched the way that look. Maybe there was the way someone smiles, the tone of a voice. Maybe it's just that understanding of loyalty, trust, all the things that make up love. And love is such a broad concept because you can love just your friends because it's a different love, isn't it? You can love your colleagues at work because it's a different form of love. We're just connecting in different ways. So I've just put in my notes, rinse and repeat, keep going over and over this until you get maybe 4, 5, 6 really strong things that are so important to you in a relationship, in this particular category, in this context. And then say to your unconscious mind, what else? I wonder if there was one more thing from an unconscious point of view. You, my best friend, what would really make this type of relationship the one that would zing? That one would be not perfect, but be so high up there. And maybe you'll just get an intuition about it. Or maybe it will come over time. Or maybe your unconscious mind will go, no, I'll just add it for you. Now, I do a complete process on this. I'm not sure if it's in the hypnosis processes that are on paulcloughonline.com/podcast. I've got to find out. I'll have to have a look at that. If I haven't, maybe I'll do one. But the thing is, you write these down. And then what you do is maybe just once a day. You don't have to do it hundreds and hundreds of times, but you do it with intensity. So once a day for maybe, as long as 2 minutes. You get those notes. Maybe they're on a small card now that you put in your wallet, you put in your pocket, you put in your purse or whatever you have. And you just bring that out while it's quiet and there's no one, doesn't have to be people around, but just so you can be quiet and concentrate. And you look at each one individually and feel the feelings. And then add the next feeling, and then the next feeling, and then the next feeling. And all you have to say at the end of those 2 minutes, when you've felt that feeling so much, you say to yourself, and write this on the card, this or something better. Because we don't want to restrict ourselves to just this. If it could be better, we want it better. So they evolve. And here's what you may notice. And I say may, but I think it will happen. Because everyone I've done this process and my other process, they've all had this happen. People in their lives that doesn't match up to this list, these feelings. The ones that used to pee you off a little bit, or you just, really? They're still in your life, but you don't notice them anymore. They just seem to be in the distance, maybe in your peripheral vision, but they don't have any emotional charge. It's like that shopkeeper you might say hi to. That's all it is. There's only that type of connection. There's nothing more than that. But also you might notice, and I think you might, people you haven't noticed before. Because this is what tends to happen. And they're people who have been around. You hadn't noticed them in the past, but you hadn't really noticed them. They've always been there. But now they come into the forefront of your awareness. Because as you talk and you get interested in them, you tend to find out you have those similarities. You have those things that give you great rapport. It's this, I've just known this person for ages. Because it's like your unconscious mind is picking up from your peripheral vision. It's throwing the ones don't match to this recipe to the side, but it's then noticing the people that do match this recipe and more, and bring them into your attention. And all you have to do is have fun with this. That's all there is. You explore it, you have fun. Just notice at the end of the day what people came into your life in that particular category. And you can change, as I say, you can do this process for every different type of category you can think of where relationships are important to you. But it just happens. And you're not putting a time period on it. You're just saying this or something better. I just notice what happens. And when you see people that you're interested in and you talk to them, just say to your unconscious mind, thank you. Weird, I know. Sometimes a little pat on the back physically, say, oh, I enjoyed that. Maybe you could find even more. Yeah. You see, I made a little note. Why the hell am I talking about this? Why am I sharing this process with you? Why is it important? And I think it's important that and this is for me, so hopefully does it fit with you? Relationships are important. Your health is important. Because without your health, you ain't going to do nothing. Nothing? Nothing. Without your mental ability, your mental health, you're not going to do a lot. So you need your health. You need your mental health. So physical health, mental health. And then you need connection. They're the three legs to the stool of life. That's the stool you sit on. Yeah, you got that? Or is that just my brain going into the wrong place? And it's important, I believe, that we meet so many people, so much of the time that we can now choose to spend the time that we have on this little old planet Earth with the people who are going to connect with us in a way that is going to fulfill our needs, and we can fulfill their needs because we're similar. We just have that connection. And all I wanted you to feel when you listen to this is going, yes, I'm going to do this. Yes. Because what's the worst it's my same thing. Every process I tend to do is, what's the worst could bloody happen? If you did this for 2 minutes a day, you'd waste 2 minutes in feeling bloody great. You'd feel so good for 2 minutes a day. That's the worst that can happen. But it's that feeling. That feeling is that to me is your instruction to your unconscious mind saying, find more of this. Find the people who will create this feeling in me and more. And you see, when you do that, energy flows where your attention goes, or attention goes where your energy flows. But you're paying attention to the feelings. You're putting energy into those feelings. Like attracts like. To some extent. It'll have a little difference, but we like people who like us and are like us. So if you can really start giving off that vibe of the feelings that you want to enjoy in each particular relationship, you will be sending out in some way, shape or form, a message to people to attract those people into your life. Not necessarily the law of attraction, but if you believe that, it could be that. But all I know is we somehow send off vibrations and other people pick them up. And the people who pick them up like that will be a match to those vibrations. They just will. They just bloody will. So again, 2 minutes of your day just feeling great, or 2 minutes a day and creating wonderful relationships. The rest will be up to you. And if you start to feel a little bit unconfident about when you talk to people, or you feel a little bit of, anxiety of, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm an imposter, and all that bloody rubbish, go through some past episodes, go through the hypnosis tracks, as I said before, or email me, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com, and say, Paul, I'm going to make these relationships, I'm going to get a relationship, but I'm feeling a little bit X or Y. Can you help? And I'll say, hell yes, let's get something on. That's what I like doing. That's my little thing that I want to do for as many people in this little old world that I can. Because if everyone's having great relationships, I think the world might change just a little bit, don't you? Anyway, please do that. Please share this. Because again, share what you know. If you can explain this to people, you get to learn it even deeper. It really does. You become a teacher. You also find out the little bits you're not quite sure of, so you can come back and have a little listen and tune in and tune up. But if you explain it auditorily, I don't know why I pause it, but I can't even pause properly now. But if you can tell people, it makes your learnings go deeper. But as long as you tell them, I got this from a guy called Cluffy at the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, you really ought to subscribe and press that button and listen to everything he says because he's so awesomely brilliant. And that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Anyway, more power to you. Empower yourself. Make that connection with yourself too. If you we might talk about this in a different way of how you can look at the relationship you want with yourself. Maybe we'll talk again about that so we have a different connection with that as well, because that's a little bit deeper in a different way. But that's maybe for another day. So until that other day, please go and make wonderful relationships and have more fun than you can stand. Okay? So go fly, my friend. Bye-bye.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.